Hi, everybody. I can't see you, but oh yes, now I can. Wow, so that's a sellout full house. So thank you all for coming. Wow, excellent. And this is the first of what we intend to be several cultural events in Jerusalem, maybe even beyond Jerusalem we'll get to as well. Okay, so people came from out of town for this evening. I know our guest did, so I appreciate that. We're going to cut straight to it. We actually kind of started on time, which is unheard of at a Jewish event, so let's stick with it. My guest tonight is a fellow former Brit, but one who has been here since the year that modern Israel was revived, 1948, and who's played a key role in some of Israel's landmark events. A 4-decade Mossad man, he was the 9th head of the Mossad, the 4th head of the National Security Council, an advisor in one capacity or another to 5 Israeli prime ministers, and an ambassador to boot. He played a major role in the forming of the Israel-Jordan peace treaty and a major role in saving that treaty too during a crisis 20 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Efraim Halevy. Okay, I warn you, these chairs are so comfortable that once in, we cannot get out. You told me when we spoke before that I could ask you anything,
right,
but you wouldn't promise that you'd always answer. Okay?
Yes.
So on that basis, let's proceed. Tell us a little bit about how and why you got into the Mossad, what it was like, and how vital its work was and is to Israel. I just want to say, in the introduction to the book that you have all bought or are about to buy, that Efraim wrote 10 years ago, you wrote that book to encourage people to go into the intelligence services because, quote, the very future of the free world depends on them. So what led you to that world? Tell us a little about it.
Good evening. First of all, let me say that I'm very happy to be here, and I was very happy to receive your invitation.
Good.
I joined the Mossad in 1961. I was then, towards the end of a 4-year stint, working for the IDF, and I didn't know there was a Mossad, actually. And somebody said to me that they might be offering me a job in the Israeli Foreign Service. So I said, that's interesting, I might well do it. It was summer, and they were going to interview me in Tel Aviv at the Tel Aviv branch of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There was a branch then at the time. So despite the sizzling heat, I put on a jacket, a shirt and a tie, and said to myself, well, if I'm going to be a diplomat, at least I should try and dress like a diplomat. And I walked in to meet the person who was going to meet me, and he was sitting behind the desk, and he had short sleeves and an open shirt. And he began to quiz me about all kinds of things relating to my life and to my preferences in life, and so on and so forth. And as the conversation went on, I felt uneasy because I wasn't sure whether I hadn't got to the right place. I said to him, excuse me, but I understand that I've come here to be interviewed for the Foreign Service, and therefore maybe there's been a mistake. He said, no, there's not been a mistake. It's a foreign service, but a different foreign service than you think of. And then he told me that there was an intelligence service called the Mossad, which was then a secret. Nobody said anything then about the Mossad. And he said to me, I think I'm going to be able to offer you a career in life, and you'll find it very rewarding. And it turned out that he was a division head in the Mossad. He later became deputy head of the Mossad. And indeed, it was a career, I think, that from my point of view, sometimes I cannot even really imagine that I was able to go through with it.
What did they see in you that was perfect for this career?
I don't think they saw me as perfect, but first of all, I had language, a natural language. Secondly, I had a non-Israeli passport, which also was important, without going into too many details this evening. And thirdly, I think they had interviewed 1 or 2 people about me, and they thought that ultimately I could be a person who was able to persuade people. And I think one of the secrets of the successful Mossad officer is the ability to persuade, not by force, but gentle persuasion, persuasion in a battle of minds. And I think that that's what got me my first job.
So persuasion. And that differs from diplomacy because?
Because you're not only persuading somebody to accept your position or your view on something, you're persuading him, to give you information. You're persuading him in certain cases to do something which is treacherous to his country. You're persuading him to see things that he's never seen before in a different light. And you're also persuading him to live at peace with his conscience. And that is a very difficult thing to do sometimes, because sometimes people, before they actually say the right thing, go through a very, very difficult time, sometimes physically as well. And sometimes you have to do what the Brits call in their service, to decide when you pop the question, because you talk to people or talk to a person, and you have to determine what is the right moment to turn the conversation into a totally different direction than it had taken up to that moment. And if your timing is wrong, then you've lost it. If your timing is right, that's fine. But sometimes you're late on the timing. And all the time that you're talking to this person, you're thinking to yourself, is it now the more important point? Should I do it now? Should I wait? Should I go for another meeting? Should I try and improve the chances of getting the man to do the right thing? So it's a very difficult task. It's not just sitting like I'm sitting to you this evening and trying to persuade you to do something or to talk about something. It's to persuade a person to change the entire conduct of his life. And this is not a simple matter.
And was it crucial for you that you knew that your cause was just? Would you not have been able to do your job? Or were there times when you yourself had doubts about what it was you were doing?
I never had doubts about what I was doing. I never was asked to do something which I was uneasy about doing. I never had a situation in which I had pangs of conscience about what I was doing. And I always felt that sometimes I could see the results of what I was doing. I could actually see that the fact that I had done this or that or the other produced this or that result. And that's very important sometimes in life. And not everybody has the advantage of having this wonderful gift of seeing the fruits of your effort.
So tell us, obviously, I don't need to encourage you to be discreet, but within the parameters of what you can and can't say, and even predating you. Here we are in 2017, we're in the cocoon of this Israel in an insane region. We're probably stronger than we've ever been before as a Jewish state. I'm not saying that we're not vulnerable. Take us, from before the foundation of the state, if you like, as far back as you like. How has the role of intelligence affected Israel, the foundation of Israel, the region in which we find ourselves? How central has it been? And give us some examples of where your profession has had a central impact.
Well, let me begin with 100 years ago. We're now celebrating this year the 100th anniversary of the Belford Declaration. The Belford Declaration came to light on the 2nd of November 1917. On the 31st of October of that year, Dr. Chaim Weizmann, who was the president of the World Zionist Organization, was invited to the cabinet office in Downing Street, 10 Downing Street, to await the decision of the cabinet as to whether they would approve the text of what was going to be the Balfour Declaration. And Weizmann was a very, very important figure in World War I for the Brits. He was a man who had made a singular contribution to the war effort. He had produced a gene, physically, in terms of your genes, a gene which was vital in creating and artificially creating acetone, which was a vital element in explosives. Indeed, he was a man who's gone down in history because the name given to the gene was his name. It's Clostridium acetobutylicum weizmanni. That is the gene. And I know it by heart because my teacher for chemistry in the last year of my secondary school here in Jerusalem was a man who was a doctor of chemistry, a doctor of medicine, a doctor of philosophy, and a very famous figure. And his name was Yeshayahu Leibovich, who is known to many people here in this hall, I hope. And he taught me chemistry in the 8th form because there was nobody else to teach chemistry, so he taught us. And he did two things. One was to teach us this gene, and the second was, in the last lesson that we had, how to construct an atomic bomb. So this Dr. Weizmann, who had invented the Clostridium acetobutylicum weizmanni, was in the anteroom of 10 Downing Street. But there was somebody else with him. And the second man was a man named Aaron Aronson, who was one of the founders of a small group of people called Nili, Netzach Yisrael Lo Yeshaker. And he was in London because, at that time, the service that Nili was giving to the British war effort was unique. Unique in its quality about the Turkish army in Palestine, and it was unique in quality also about the strategic intentions of the Ottomans, because Nili had not only recruited people here in Palestine, and not only had run around the country and were able to report on positions of the Turks and so forth, but they were also able to recruit Jewish officers in the Ottoman army who had access to information which was vital. Nili was an organization without which it is unclear that General Allenby would have been able to carry out successfully the operation in Palestine. Now, I'm not saying this because I say so, but a book published in 2010, 6 years ago, called MI6, which is an official history of MI6 from 1909 to 1949, devotes 3 full pages to Nili. And in it, the leaders of the British intelligence effort in the Middle East say that without this information, it was possible that the result of the war would not have been that way. And the head of MI6 at the time, who was the founder of MI6, a man called Cummings, personally oversaw the operation of Nili. And not only that, he maintained a liaison, not only with Dr. Weizmann, but also with the representative of Nili in London, the brother of Aronson, and gave Nili a draft copy of the Belford Declaration, parallel to giving it to Weizmann, because he realized the importance of convincing Nili to continue with the effort and not to let go. And therefore, when Weizmann ultimately was invited to the Cabinet Office Aronson was with him. And this is the first time that the political head of the Jewish people took the head of his intelligence service, and together they entered the room when Sir Mark Sykes, who had been the creator of the Sykes-Picot Agreement, said to Dr. Weizmann and to Aaron Aronson after the meeting, "It is a boy." And that is how the Balfour Declaration came into being. The essentials of intelligence from the very inception is something which is in our genes, not the Weizmann gene, but in our personal genes. And I think that for many of us, it's clear today that without Nili, I don't think that we may not be here have been here today.
Without Nili, Britain would not have looked favourably, and therefore the process.
Or then maybe Britain would not have won the war. Simply that.
Well.
And that's what they say, the Brits say, not I say, or you say, in a book which is the official history of MI6. Mm-hmm.